All right, so Samsung just announced 3 new Galaxy S20 phones, the S20 regular, the S20 Plus, and the S20 Ultra. And I was able to spend a little bit of time with all 3 of these, and this video will talk about the differences between them, and as well as like my overall thoughts on all 3 of these phones. So this year, the focus of the new S20 series is definitely the camera system. So this here is the S10, and you'll notice right away the difference between this phone and the S20s is the back camera modules. The new S20 phones have them positioned over to the left instead of being right in the center like this, and they're just a completely brand new camera system. So starting at the bottom, the S20 has a triple camera setup, and the main feature here is that 64 megapixel sensor, which is a lot more megapixels than what the S10 offered. This was a 16 megapixel sensor, so it's a huge jump in terms of megapixel count, and that sensor is for the zoom lens. The S20 Plus has the same triple camera setup, but there's a fourth lens, a time of flight lens or time of flight sensor, and that's for augmented reality or any kind of depth sensing software, so stuff like portrait mode photography can take advantage of a time of flight sensor, but the main actual optical lenses for the S20 Plus is going to be the same as the S20. But the big boy phone, that S20 Ultra, is going to have the most robust camera system of the 3, and it has a slightly different camera system altogether. This thing has the 108 megapixel sensor, but it's for the regular lens, not the zoom lens or the ultra wide. Now, all 3 of these phones have a very improved camera system compared to the previous generation, but the thing that they're talking about the most is the zoom. The regular S20 and the S20 Plus have a 30x zoom. The S20 Ultra has a 100x zoom, which is like, that is freaking insane. I've only been able to spend a little bit of time with these camera systems, and the zooms, they're impressive in the sense that you're able to zoom quite extensively, but the pictures don't look particularly clean. If you expected like perfect optical zoom with this stuff, you're not going to get that. What you do get is just the capability to zoom way more than you can with most other flagships, but it's not like a CSI level zoom. Now, the way that they're able to achieve this type of zoom capability is partially through optics, and the S20 Ultra even has that telescoping lens on the inside, but the vast majority of the zoom is done through digital processing. And the zooms seem to work reasonably well if the photos have high enough contrast, but if you're shooting something that's very flat, it's tough for the software to pull out details properly. The camera system on the whole though feels a lot better than what I've seen from Samsung before. I do need to spend more time with it to give like a more kind of summarized conclusion, but I do like what I've seen so far. One thing I did notice with the camera system that was neat, the shutter button has this very unique tactile response. So when you press the shutter button, and this is something that's very difficult to convey in a video because I'm talking about a physical feel, and this is a video, but when you press that shutter button, you can feel like a motor or something. It almost feels like there's something sliding up and down inside the camera. It's obviously just something they're doing with the haptic motor. Like there's probably not a moving or sliding mechanism inside the phone that feels that pronounced, but it feels so cool when you take these photos. It actually makes it feel like you're taking a picture with an actual DSLR, when there's actual weight to the decision of pressing that shutter button. The other main feature with these phones are their screens. They're all equipped with 120 Hz capable displays, which is a very smooth experience. I've talked about it in previous videos. But the one thing that was interesting is that these devices are supposedly capped at 1080p if you go up to 120 Hz, which is a little bit strange. Now, I don't know if this is just with the units that we had at the briefing. Maybe the retail models will be able to go to 1440p, 120 Hz, but the units I saw were capped at 1080p at 120 Hz, but they look really, really nice. I mean, it's a Samsung display. They do have a slightly thinner top bezel than what the S10 had from the previous generation, but the biggest difference for me was actually the curvature of the glass. I have talked about this in so many of my videos. I've never loved how Samsung curves their top glass so aggressively. It is a lot better on the S20. There's still a curve there, right? If you're someone that wants that premium vibe to their phone with that sexy curved glass, it's still there. It's just not as pronounced. I think they've just done it in a smarter way. Like, you still have that curve, but you don't have the accidental touches and accidental swipes that you get with overly curved glass. The other change on the screens is that the punch hole camera is now in the middle instead of being on the side like the S10, but they've also removed the pill-shaped camera. So on the S10, this is the S10 Plus, on the S10 Plus it has a pill-shaped camera because they have 2 lenses in there, like a wider front-facing camera as well as like a regular front-facing. they got rid of it. So there's only one camera up front now, but you still get two kind of focal lengths. So you get like a regular and a wide, but I think it's more of a cropping thing that they're doing instead of having two actual lenses. The rest of the phone has very much the same kind of Samsung vibe as you would expect. It's got the glass back, it's got the aluminum frame. There is, however, no headphone jack in the S20 series. It's gone, but I feel like there was a bit of a trade-off here. See, with the S20 phones, they have significantly bigger batteries than what the S10 had. So I don't know if it's related, like maybe they could have bumped up the battery size anyways and kept the jack, but these S20 phones have almost a 15% increase in battery size compared to what the S10 phones offered. In terms of the physical size, all of the S20 phones are big. The S20 Plus is around the same size as the OnePlus 7 Pro, but the Ultra is even bigger. Now, these phones have crazy hardware in them. They have Snapdragon 865s, very powerful processors. They have 12 gigs of RAM. They have 128 gigs of storage, expandable storage. So the hardware in the S20 lineup is just beast. And they have 5G connectivity. Now, that's going to mean different things to different people depending on what country you're from, what city you live in. Not everyone wants 5G right now, but it is available on the S20 if you're looking for that type of connectivity. In terms of pricing, starts at $999 US. I'm a little bit disappointed they don't have a cheaper version like the S20e, like they had the S10e last year. Instead, they went for a more premium lineup with the Ultra. I think these phones are awesome. They honestly look really nice on paper, but I think we'll have to wait for the review to get a more comprehensive look at these devices. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Thumbs if you liked it, subs if you loved it. See you guys next time.